Level 1, the applicant. You apply on a website. That's the part nobody believes. But it's true. The Secret Intelligence Service, SIS, commonly called MI6, posts vacancies on sis.gov.uk the way any government department posts vacancies, except the application process takes 6 to 9 months and involves pre-screening, online tests, competency questionnaires, assessment centers, and interviews. And at every stage, the organization is assessing not just your intelligence, but your character, your discretion, and your ability to maintain a secret that begins with the application itself. You cannot tell anyone you've applied, not your partner, not your parents, not your closest friend. The secret starts before the job does, and the secret never ends. You are British. You are at least 21 years old. You have a 2-to-1 degree or better in any subject. You have an interest in foreign cultures, an aptitude for languages, and the interpersonal skills to build relationships with strangers in unfamiliar environments under conditions of extreme pressure and deception. The vetting process is called developed vetting, DV, administered by United Kingdom Security Vetting, and it is the most intrusive background investigation the British government conducts. They examine your finances, your relationships, your travel history, your family, your friends, your digital footprint, and the 10 years of residency in Britain that you're required to have completed. They interview people who know you and people who knew you, and they ask questions designed to reveal vulnerabilities, debt, addiction, ideology, resentment, secrets, because a vulnerability in an intelligence officer is not a personal problem. It is a national security risk. The organization was founded in 1909 as the Foreign Section of the Secret Service Bureau. Its first chief was Captain Sir Mansfield Smith Cumming, who signed documents with the letter C in green ink. Every chief since has done the same. You don't know this yet. You will. Level 2, the trainee. You passed. The letter arrives and the world divides into before and after. You report to Fort Monkton in Portsmouth, a coastal fortification that has been used for military purposes since the Napoleonic era, and now serves as the primary training facility for SIS intelligence officers. The course is called IONEC, the intelligence officer's new entry course, and it lasts 6 months. 6 months during which you learn the craft that has no civilian equivalent and no public curriculum. You learn how to recruit and handle agents. In the language of intelligence, you are the officer. The agent is the foreign national you convince to betray his country, his employer, his ideology, or his family on behalf of yours. The relationship between officer and agent is the fundamental unit of human intelligence, human, and it is built on trust that is entirely manufactured and entirely functional. You learn to spot a potential agent, someone with access to information you need who has a vulnerability or motivation that you can exploit. The acronym is MICE: money, ideology, compromise, ego. You learn dead drops, physical locations where information is deposited and collected without direct contact. You learn surveillance and counter-surveillance, how to identify if you're being followed, and how to conduct a surveillance detection route that confirms or denies the presence of hostile watchers without alerting them. You learn to operate under a cover identity. Not a disguise, an identity. A constructed life with a name, a history, a job, a reason for being in the country you've been sent to that will withstand scrutiny from the local intelligence service. You learn secret writing and coded communication. You receive firearms training, pistols, and submachine guns, though you're told that it would be rare for an SIS intelligence officer to fire or even carry a weapon in the line of duty. The weapon you carry is conversation. Level 3, the junior officer. You graduate IONEC and you are assigned to a desk at Vauxhall Cross, 85 Albert Embankment, the building on the south bank of the Thames by Vauxhall Bridge that has been SIS headquarters since 1995, designed by Sir Terry Farrell, built with bomb blast protection, electronic eavesdropping countermeasures, and reportedly connected to Whitehall by a tunnel beneath the river. The building is colloquially called Legoland for its postmodern architecture. You are on the lower rungs of the civil service pay scale. Your starting salary is approximately £35,000 to £40,000. Your title is intelligence officer. There are no military ranks in SIS. There is seniority, there are grades, and there is the informal hierarchy of experience and results. You are assigned to one of 4 career streams: case officer, targeter, reports officer, or operational manager. Your training focused on the case officer role, the officer who runs agents in the field, but the early years of your career will rotate you through the others. As a targeter, you use desk-based analytical tools to identify potential subjects for human operations and to validate the intelligence your agents produce. As a reports officer, you work with government departments, the Foreign Office, the Ministry of Defense, the Home Office, the Cabinet Office, to understand what intelligence they need and to ensure that what your agents provide actually answers questions that matter. As an operational manager, you plan and manage intelligence operations from headquarters, coordinating capabilities across SIS and its intelligence partners. You are learning the architecture of the organization from the inside. The building has thousands of employees. Most of them will never go into the field. The field is where the work becomes what the films depict. The building is where the work becomes what the films leave out. Level 4, the first posting. You are posted overseas. This is the moment that separates MI6 from every other branch of the civil service, and the moment that defines your career. You are sent to a British embassy or high commission in a foreign country under diplomatic cover. A role within the embassy that provides you with diplomatic immunity and a plausible reason for being in the country. Your cover might be a political officer, a trade attaché, a cultural liaison. Your actual job is to recruit and run agents. You identify targets, foreign nationals with access to intelligence on terrorism, weapons proliferation, cyber threats, hostile state activities, or any other priority defined by the Joint Intelligence Committee, which coordinates requirements across MI6, MI5, and GCHQ. You make contact. You develop the relationship over weeks or months, meeting in restaurants, at diplomatic functions, in hotel lobbies and at conferences, establishing rapport and trust before you ever reveal what you actually want. You learn his concerns, his ambitions, his frustrations with his own government. You listen more than you speak. You build a portrait of the man, his vulnerabilities, his motivations, his access to the information you need, and you wait for the moment when the approach will land correctly. The approach, the moment you ask the target to work for you, is the most dangerous point in the entire operation, because until that moment, you are a diplomat having dinner. After that moment, you are a spy asking a foreign national to commit treason, and the target can say no and report you to his own intelligence service, and your cover is blown, and your posting ends, and you are declared persona non grata and sent home. Or the target says yes, and the operation begins, and you are responsible for a human being who has agreed to risk imprisonment, torture, or death because you convinced him that the risk was worth it. That responsibility is the weight of the job, and it never lifts. Level 5, the case officer. You've run agents, plural. Your first posting produced intelligence that reached the desks of ministers and shaped policy decisions you will never be briefed on, because the compartmentalization of intelligence means that the collector rarely sees the product's final impact. Your second posting's in a harder environment, a hostile state, a country where the local intelligence service is sophisticated, aggressive, and aware that every Western embassy contains at least one officer who isn't what his diplomatic credentials claim. The Russian FSB, the Chinese MSS, the Iranian VVAC. You operate against these services knowing that they are operating against you. Counterintelligence is not an abstract concept. It is the man sitting 2 tables away in the restaurant who has been there every time you've met this particular contact. It is the car that appears in your mirror on 3 consecutive journeys. It is the phone that develops a static hiss that wasn't there yesterday. You learn to read the environment the way a hunter reads terrain. Every anomaly is a question. You conduct surveillance detection routes before every meeting, a choreographed sequence of turns and stops and movements through the city designed to flush out surveillance. If you detect it, you abort. If you're not sure, you abort. Certainty is a luxury that intelligence officers cannot afford because the cost of being wrong is not your career. It is the life of your agent. Oleg Penkovsky, a GRU officer recruited by SIS and the CIA, provided crucial intelligence on Soviet missile capabilities during the Cold War. He was caught. He was executed. Oleg Gordievsky, a KGB officer recruited by SIS, spied for Britain for over a decade. When he was compromised, SIS exfiltrated him from Moscow in one of the most celebrated escape operations in intelligence history. These names are the profession's mythology. They are also its warning. Level 6, the senior officer. Your salary has climbed to £60,000, £80,000, perhaps £100,000, depending on your grade and your posting. You have been in the service for 10 to 15 years. You have managed operations across multiple countries and multiple threat areas: counterterrorism, counterproliferation, cyber intelligence, regional instability. You are now managing other officers. You run a section or a station, the SIS presence within an embassy, which might consist of 2 officers in a small country or a dozen in a strategically significant one. Your job is no longer to recruit agents yourself, though you still can and sometimes do. Your job is to set priorities, allocate resources, assess risk, and make decisions that balance the intelligence value of an operation against the political, diplomatic, and human consequences of failure. Every operation exists on a risk matrix. A high-value agent providing intelligence on a nuclear weapons program justifies risks that a low-level source providing political gossip does not. You draw the lines. You authorize meetings in dangerous locations. You approve agent payments that flow through complex financial channels designed to be untraceable. You manage the relationship between the station and the ambassador, who is officially informed of SIS activities in his embassy, but who may not want to know the details and who will certainly not want to be embarrassed if an operation goes wrong on his watch. During the Falklands War in 1982, SIS officers posed as arms dealers to buy up the market of available Exocet missiles, denying Argentina the weapons that had already sunk British warships. That operation required coordination between stations, headquarters, the Ministry of Defense, and the Foreign Office. It required decisions made quickly under pressure with incomplete information. That is what this level is. If an agent is compromised, you decide whether to attempt exfiltration or to deny the relationship and protect the wider network. That decision may determine whether a human being lives or dies. You make it in a windowless office in an embassy compound, and you send the decision to Vauxhall Cross by encrypted communication, and you wait. The distance between decision and consequence is measured in encrypted cables and sleepless nights. Level 7. The Controller. You are back at Vauxhall Cross. You oversee a directorate, a regional or thematic division responsible for all SIS operations within a defined area: the Middle East, South Asia, Russia and Eastern Europe, counterterrorism, counterproliferation. You brief the Chief, C, directly. You attend meetings with the Joint Intelligence Committee, which sits at the apex of the British intelligence community, and is responsible for assessing the totality of intelligence produced by MI6, MI5, GCHQ, and Defense Intelligence, and presenting it to ministers in a form that enables decisions. You coordinate with the heads of MI5, GCHQ, and the intelligence services of the Five Eyes Alliance, the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, because modern intelligence operates within a web of partnerships where information flows across borders through liaison channels that are simultaneously cooperative and competitive. Every ally is also, to some degree, an intelligence target. Every partner is also a potential threat. The Americans share more than anyone else, but they also collect more than anyone else. And the relationship between the CIA and SIS, which dates to the Second World War and the shared effort at Bletchley Park, is the most productive and most complicated intelligence liaison in history. You manage this relationship at the operational level, which means you sit across the table from your CIA counterpart and you decide what to share and what to withhold. You make these decisions daily, and some of them are easy and some of them are agonizing because the intelligence you're withholding might save American lives, and the intelligence you're sharing might compromise a British source. Level 8, the Deputy Chief. You are one of the most senior intelligence officers in the United Kingdom. You oversee the daily operations of the entire service. Thousands of officers and support staff across Vauxhall Cross and stations on every continent, with operations running simultaneously in dozens of countries against every category of threat that the government has identified as a national security priority. You are the person who ensures that the intelligence machine functions at every level, that agents are recruited and handled safely, that the tradecraft is sound, that the technology is current, that the personnel are supported, and that the ones who have been in the field too long are brought home before the pressure breaks them. Because intelligence officers are not immune to the psychological cost of living double lives in dangerous places for years at a time, you ensure that operations comply with the legal framework established by the Intelligence Services Act of 1994, which for the first time placed SIS on a statutory footing and subjected it to oversight by the Intelligence and Security Committee of Parliament. Before 1994, SIS did not officially exist. The government did not acknowledge its name, its mission, or its personnel. It operated in a legal gray zone that allowed extraordinary freedom and extraordinary damage. Kim Philby, the SIS officer who spied for the Soviet Union for decades, rose to a position where he was responsible for counter-Soviet operations while simultaneously reporting everything to Moscow. The damage he caused, the agents betrayed, the operations compromised, the trust destroyed within the Five Eyes alliance, was possible in part because the system had no mechanism for detecting what he was doing. You operate in a different era, an era of oversight, legal review, and ministerial authorization. But the essential tension remains. Intelligence work requires secrecy. Democracy requires transparency. Your job exists in the permanent gap between those two requirements. Level 9, the Chief. URC. The letter signed in green ink. The only member of the Secret Intelligence Service whose identity is officially made public. You report directly to the Foreign Secretary and annually to the Prime Minister. Your salary is approximately £170,000. The title has been held by 17 individuals since Captain Mansfield Smith Cumming first signed that letter in 1909. You sit in the office at Vauxhall Cross that has been the seat of British foreign intelligence for 3 decades, and you are responsible for the entirety of the operation. Every agent, every officer, every station, every liaison relationship, every covert action, every piece of intelligence that reaches the desk of a minister and influences a decision about war, peace, diplomacy, or security. You are also the public face of an organization that exists to remain invisible. Since John Soares delivered the first public speech by a serving chief in 2010, the role has carried visibility that Smith Cumming and Menzies and the chiefs of the Cold War would have found incomprehensible. You manage a budget that is classified but runs into hundreds of millions of pounds. You oversee operations that are classified at the highest levels of government secrecy. You make decisions that will not be declassified for 30, 50, or 100 years, if they are ever declassified at all. Some will be destroyed, Some will be sealed in the National Archives under restrictions that will outlive everyone involved. The history of MI6 is a history of decisions made by individuals whose names the public never knew about, operations the public never learned about, in countries the public never connected to British interests. Some of those decisions saved lives. Some of them ended lives. Some of them changed the outcome of wars. The weight of that history sits in the room with you every day, and the green ink on your signature is the only visible evidence that the weight exists. Level 10, the cycle. Right now, somewhere in Britain, a university student in her final year is reading the SIS careers page on her phone. She's 22 years old. She studies international relations or languages or history or mathematics. It doesn't matter. The degree can be in any subject. She's drawn to the work for reasons she can't fully articulate. An interest in the world, a facility with people, a tolerance for ambiguity, a quiet confidence that she could thrive in an environment where the rules are different and the consequences are real. She doesn't know about Fort Monkton or IONEC or the stalking discipline of a surveillance detection route through a hostile capital at night. She doesn't know about the 6 to 9 month application process that begins with an online form and ends with a letter that divides her life in half. She doesn't know that the first time she recruits an agent, she will feel a combination of exhilaration and guilt that no training can prepare her for, because she has convinced another human being to betray everything he was raised to believe, and the relationship that made the betrayal possible was built on a trust that is professionally genuine and personally constructed, and the line between those two things is the line she will walk for the rest of her career. She doesn't know about the green ink or the letter C or the building on the Thames that looks like it was designed by a child with expensive taste. She doesn't know about Penkovsky, who was executed by the Soviets in 1963, or Gordievsky, who was saved by an SIS exfiltration team in 1985, or the hundreds of agents whose names were never declassified and whose fates were decided by officers who carried the weight of those decisions into retirement and beyond and into silence. She reads the page. She clicks apply. The cycle begins again.